In the intricate dance of relationships, how men and women connect has fascinated us for centuries. Taoism, with its focus on balance and harmony, offers a fresh take, not on what men should do, but what they should avoid. At its core is the balance of yin and yang, where disruption leads to tension. What if the secret to stronger relationships lies not in doing more, but in stepping back? By respecting natural rhythms and avoiding common mistakes, men can cultivate deeper, more peaceful connections. Ready to explore how Taoist wisdom can transform your approach to love and intimacy? Let's dive into 9 key principles to guide the way. Part 1. Don't impose opinions and power on women. In Taoist philosophy, one of the core principles is the emphasis on balance, particularly the harmony between yin and yang. Yin, traditionally associated with the feminine, embodies qualities of softness, receptivity, and calm. Yang, aligned with masculinity, represents assertiveness, action, and strength. Together, these energies exist in harmony, and one is not complete without the other. This concept extends beyond metaphysics into practical human relationships, including how men and women relate to one another. When men impose their opinions and power over women, they disrupt this delicate balance, leading to conflict, discontent, and ultimately a breakdown in mutual respect. To understand why imposing opinions or power on women is problematic, we must first explore the nature of power itself. Power, in this context, is not merely about physical strength or authority but also encompasses the ability to influence, control, or dominate another person's thoughts, emotions, and decisions. In many cultures throughout history, power has traditionally been skewed in favor of men, often at the expense of women. This imbalance has been perpetuated through various societal structures, from legal systems that limited women's rights to cultural norms that dictated a woman's place in the family and community. In a Taoist view, however, this imposition of power is unnatural and unsustainable. Rather than encouraging domination, Taoism teaches that harmony comes from mutual respect, understanding, and the avoidance of force. When men impose their opinions on women, they fail to recognize the unique wisdom and perspective that women, as carriers of yin energy, bring to the relationship. Taoism emphasizes that each person's path is their own, and trying to shape someone else's journey by forcing them to conform to your way of thinking is counterproductive. It's akin to trying to bend a river to flow in the opposite direction. While it may be possible in the short term, it disrupts the natural flow of life and ultimately leads to exhaustion and failure. Similarly, when a man tries to impose his views or decisions on a woman, he is attempting to control the uncontrollable, which leads to tension and discord. This concept of non-imposition is closely linked to the Taoist principle of Wu Wei, often translated as non-action or effortless action. In relationships, Wu Wei encourages individuals to allow events to unfold naturally without trying to force outcomes. A man practicing Wu Wei in his relationship with a woman does not try to control or dominate her. Instead, he observes, listens, and respects her autonomy. He recognizes that forcing his will upon her will only lead to resistance, whereas allowing space for her to express herself fully leads to a deeper, more harmonious connection. Wu Wei is not about passivity but about aligning oneself with the natural flow of life, understanding that harmony arises when we stop resisting what is and start embracing what can be. Imposing power on women also disrupts the natural balance of yin and yang. In the Taoist view, yin and yang are interdependent forces that rely on each other for balance. If one force tries to dominate the other, the natural equilibrium is lost, resulting in chaos. In a relationship, when a man uses his position of power, whether physical, emotional, or social, to dominate a woman, he is not only disrupting the relationship's balance but also disregarding the value of yin energy. Yin, with its qualities of intuition, nurturing, and patience, brings a different but equally important energy to the relationship. Without allowing Yin to flourish, the relationship becomes overly yang, too rigid, aggressive, and ultimately unsustainable. Furthermore, the imposition of power on women often stems from fear and insecurity. In many cases, men impose their opinions and power because they feel threatened by the autonomy and independence of women. They fear losing control or being seen as weak, so they attempt to assert dominance to protect their sense of authority. However, this approach is fundamentally flawed. True strength does not come from controlling others but from controlling oneself. Taoism teaches that the greatest strength lies in inner peace, self-awareness, and the ability to let go of the need for external validation. By trying to impose power on women, men are, in fact, revealing their own lack of self-mastery. Moreover, imposing opinions and power on women creates an unhealthy dynamic in relationships. It fosters resentment, erodes trust, and stifles communication. When women feel that their voices are not heard or that their opinions do not matter, they are less likely to engage in meaningful dialogue or share their true feelings. This leads to emotional distance and, eventually, the breakdown of the relationship. On the other hand, when men practice respect and openness, allowing women to express their thoughts, desires, and concerns freely, it creates a foundation of trust and mutual understanding. This is the essence of a balanced relationship, where both partners feel valued and respected for who they are, not for what they can provide or how they conform to the other's expectations. In modern society, where gender equality is increasingly emphasized, the importance of avoiding the imposition of power and opinions on women cannot be overstated. While historical power imbalances are gradually being addressed, remnants of patriarchal thinking still persist. Men who wish to cultivate healthy, fulfilling relationships with women must actively work against these outdated paradigms by embracing Taoist principles of balance, non-imposition, and mutual respect. This means recognizing that women are not objects to be controlled or molded but individuals with their own unique strengths, wisdom, and perspectives. Social media and modern literature offer further insights into the dangers of imposing power on women. Countless stories of women's struggles against oppression and the fight for equality highlight the ongoing relevance of this issue. Women's movements across the globe have consistently called for the dismantling of power structures that marginalize and silence them. In this context, Taoist teachings align with the broader call for gender equality, as they advocate for a natural, harmonious balance between men and women, free from domination and control. The idea that men should not impose their power on women is not only a moral or ethical stance but also a practical one. Relationships built on mutual respect, trust, and balance are far more likely to succeed in the long term. When men release the need to dominate and instead focus on understanding and supporting the women in their lives, they create an environment where both partners can thrive. This approach fosters personal growth, emotional intimacy, and a deeper connection that transcends superficial power dynamics. In conclusion, Taoism offers profound insights into the nature of relationships, particularly regarding how men should interact with women. By avoiding the imposition of opinions and power, men can cultivate relationships that are balanced, respectful, and harmonious. This principle is not only rooted in ancient wisdom but also resonates with modern ideals of equality and mutual respect. As men embrace the Taoist approach to relationships, they will find that true strength lies not in controlling others but in mastering themselves, and true harmony comes not from domination but from balance. Part 2: Don't control women's emotions. One of the most profound principles in Taoism is the idea of non-interference, letting things take their natural course without force or manipulation. This concept, deeply rooted in the philosophy of Wu Wei, or effortless action, teaches that imposing control on others disrupts the natural flow of life and, ultimately, creates resistance. When applied to relationships, this Taoist principle becomes particularly significant in the context of emotions, especially in how men relate to and interact with women's emotions. Controlling women's emotions not only violates this essential Taoist wisdom, but it also damages the emotional foundation of a relationship, leading to misunderstandings, resentment, and emotional distance. Controlling emotions is an act of force, one that tries to steer someone's internal experience according to another's will. In many traditional and even modern relationships, men may feel the need to control how women express their feelings, whether through minimizing their emotions, invalidating their concerns, or expecting them to maintain a certain emotional tone that fits into their comfort zone. However, emotions are inherently fluid, much like the river in Taoist imagery, which flows naturally through different landscapes and adjusts to the conditions around it. Women, like men, experience a wide range of emotions, and these emotions are vital expressions of their inner world, responding to external circumstances in an authentic and personal way. Trying to control or contain these emotions is not only an act of power but also a disregard for the natural way in which feelings ebb and flow. In Taoist thought, emotions are not something to be suppressed or avoided. Instead, they are to be accepted as part of the human experience, much like the changing of the seasons or the rising and setting of the sun. The belief that emotions should be controlled is a product of a more rigid, yang-dominant mindset that sees emotions, particularly strong ones like sadness, anger, or fear, as weaknesses or disruptions. But in Taoism, Yin energy, which is often associated with emotions and the internal world, is seen as equally important as the active and assertive qualities of Yang. Without the ability to express and experience emotions fully, the balance between Yin and Yang is thrown off, creating an unnatural tension both within individuals and between partners. When men try to control women's emotions, they are essentially trying to fit the fluid, responsive nature of Yin into a rigid, predefined mold that aligns more with their comfort zone. This often leads to emotional invalidation, where a woman's feelings are dismissed or minimized because they do not conform to the expectations or preferences of her male partner. For example, when a woman expresses sadness or frustration, a man might try to downplay those feelings, telling her that she is overreacting or that she should calm down. While this may seem like an attempt to diffuse a tense situation, it often has the opposite effect. It invalidates her emotional experience, making her feel unheard, unseen, and misunderstood. Over time, this emotional invalidation can erode trust and intimacy in the relationship, as the woman may begin to feel that her emotions are a burden or that she must suppress her true feelings to avoid conflict. Modern psychology has extensively explored the damaging effects of emotional invalidation and control in relationships. Studies show that emotional invalidation leads to a breakdown in communication and emotional connection, increasing the likelihood of resentment and emotional distance between partners. Women who feel that their emotions are being controlled or dismissed are more likely to withdraw emotionally, leading to a cycle of disengagement that can be difficult to break. On the other hand, emotional validation, the acknowledgement and acceptance of one's emotions without judgment, is a key factor in building trust and emotional intimacy in relationships. This aligns closely with Taoist principles, which emphasize acceptance, non-judgment, and allowing things to unfold naturally. Furthermore, controlling women's emotions often stems from a deeper societal issue, the perception that women's emotions are somehow more volatile, irrational, or difficult to handle than men's. This stereotype has been perpetuated for centuries, framing women as more emotionally sensitive or unpredictable, and thus in need of regulation. However, this perspective is not only reductive but also harmful. It creates a false dichotomy between rational men and emotional women, ignoring the fact that emotions are a fundamental part of the human experience for both genders. In Taoism, the emotional realm is not divided by gender but is seen as an essential part of the balance within every individual. Both men and women possess yin and yang energies, and both have emotional needs that must be honored and respected. Rather than attempting to control women's emotions, Taoism encourages a different approach: acceptance and understanding. In this context, acceptance means allowing women to express their emotions fully without judgment or interference. It means listening, being present, and acknowledging their emotional experience as valid, regardless of whether it aligns with one's own feelings or expectations. This requires a level of emotional maturity and self-awareness that can be challenging but is essential for building a healthy, balanced relationship. When men practice emotional acceptance in their relationships with women, they create a safe space where emotional authenticity can flourish. This openness allows for deeper emotional connection, as both partners feel free to express themselves without fear of judgment or control. Understanding, on the other hand, involves recognizing that emotions, especially strong ones, are not always logical or linear. They arise in response to internal and external stimuli, and often reflect deeper needs or desires that may not be immediately apparent. For example, when a woman expresses anger, it may not be the anger itself that needs to be addressed but the underlying issue that triggered it, whether it's a feeling of being unheard, a lack of support, or an unresolved conflict. By seeking to understand the root cause of her emotions, rather than trying to control or suppress the expression of those emotions, a man can offer genuine support and foster a more compassionate, empathetic connection. Social media and modern literature further highlight the importance of emotional freedom in relationships. In an age where emotional well-being is increasingly prioritized, there is a growing recognition of the need for emotional autonomy, the right to feel and express emotions without fear of being controlled or manipulated. Women's movements, in particular, have emphasized the importance of emotional liberation, challenging the traditional norms that have long dictated how women should feel and express their emotions. This movement toward emotional freedom aligns closely with Taoist philosophy, which advocates for a natural, unforced way of living, where emotions are seen as part of the larger flow of life, not something to be dominated or constrained. In Taoist thought, relationships are seen as an opportunity for growth and harmony, where both partners support each other's emotional and spiritual development. When men try to control women's emotions, they disrupt this dynamic, creating an imbalance that stifles growth and hinders the natural flow of energy within the relationship. True harmony in relationships comes from allowing emotions to flow naturally, without the need for control or manipulation. It comes from recognizing that emotions, like the changing seasons or the flow of water, are a vital part of life's natural rhythm, and trying to control them is like trying to stop a river from flowing. It is not only futile but also unnatural. In conclusion, the Taoist principle of non-interference offers a powerful framework for understanding how men should interact with women's emotions in relationships. By avoiding the impulse to control or manage women's emotional experiences, men can create a more balanced, harmonious dynamic that fosters emotional intimacy and mutual respect. Instead of seeing emotions as something to be controlled, Taoism teaches that emotions are a natural part of life's flow, deserving of acceptance and understanding. In relationships, this approach not only strengthens the emotional bond between partners but also allows both individuals to grow and thrive, free from the constraints of control and domination. As men embrace this Taoist perspective, they will find that true emotional connection comes not from controlling emotions but from honoring them, allowing space for both partners to feel and express themselves fully. Part 3: Don't judge women based on personal standards. In Taoist philosophy, one of the most valuable teachings is the principle of acceptance and non-judgment. This core belief stems from the understanding that everything in life flows in its natural rhythm, and attempting to impose rigid standards or force change only disrupts that flow. When applied to human relationships, especially between men and women, this concept becomes even more significant. Judging others, particularly women, based on personal standards, expectations, or beliefs is not only counterproductive but also damages the relationship's potential for growth, harmony, and mutual respect. Judgment often arises from a place of ego, where individuals feel the need to impose their beliefs or values on others. This imposition is rarely about the other person, more about the individual's need to reinforce their own sense of control, superiority, or righteousness. In relationships, this judgment can take many forms, such as criticizing a woman's appearance, behavior, ambitions, or choices simply because they do not align with what a man deems appropriate or desirable. However, Taoism teaches that imposing such standards disrupts the natural balance of the relationship and creates unnecessary friction. Instead of fostering connection, judgment distances partners, creating an environment where one person feels superior while the other feels inadequate or undervalued. One of the most common ways men judge women is based on appearance or physical attributes. In a society saturated with media that often promotes unrealistic beauty standards, women are frequently subjected to scrutiny about their looks. Men may, consciously or unconsciously, hold women to these impossible standards, expecting them to fit into narrow definitions of attractiveness. This judgment can manifest in seemingly innocuous comments or more direct criticisms, such as expecting a woman to conform to a particular body type, dress style, or level of physical fitness. While these judgments may seem harmless or merely reflective of individual preferences, they reinforce the idea that a woman's worth is tied to her appearance, rather than her intrinsic qualities as a person. Taoism, however, teaches that beauty is subjective and fluid, not something that can be rigidly defined or measured. The Taoist perspective on beauty is holistic, encompassing not just the physical form but the energy, spirit, and natural essence of a person. In this view, each individual is a reflection of the Tao, embodying their unique balance of Yin and Yang. Judging someone based solely on external appearances contradicts this holistic understanding and reduces a person to superficial qualities that fail to capture their true nature. To embrace a Taoist approach to relationships means seeing beyond appearances and appreciating the deeper qualities that make a person who they are, qualities such as kindness, wisdom, creativity, and authenticity. Judgment also frequently arises in the context of women's ambitions, choices, and life paths. In traditional gender roles, men were often expected to be the providers and decision-makers, while women were relegated to more passive or supportive roles. Even in modern times, remnants of these expectations persist, with many men still holding on to outdated beliefs about what a woman should or shouldn't do. For example, some men might judge women who choose careers over family life, or vice versa. They may question a woman's dedication to motherhood if she is career-driven, or conversely, see her decision to stay home as lacking ambition or drive. These judgments, often rooted in societal conditioning, fail to recognize the individuality and autonomy of women, who, like men, have the right to choose their own path in life without being subjected to someone else's standards. Taoism, on the other hand, encourages acceptance of each person's unique journey. The Tao teaches that life is not a one-size-fits-all experience, and every person is on their own path, shaped by their individual experiences, desires, and nature. To judge someone based on what you think they should be doing is to misunderstand the essence of Taoist wisdom, which honors the diversity of human experience. Taoism advocates for embracing the natural unfolding of life, allowing others the space to make their own choices without interference or judgment. By applying this principle to relationships, men can learn to support women in their individual paths, appreciating the different ways in which women contribute to the world and finding value in their unique experiences and perspectives. Judging women based on personal standards also stems from a lack of understanding or empathy. When people judge others, they often do so without taking the time to fully understand their experiences, challenges, or motivations. In relationships, this can lead to misunderstandings and feelings of alienation. For example, a man might judge a woman for expressing emotions that he perceives as irrational or overly sensitive, without considering the underlying reasons for those emotions. He might dismiss her concerns about inequality in the workplace or her frustrations with societal expectations, simply because he has never experienced those challenges himself. This lack of empathy and understanding reinforces the judgment, creating a divide between partners that is difficult to bridge. Taoism emphasizes the importance of compassion and empathy in human relationships. The Taoist sage does not judge others because he understands that each person is a product of their own circumstances and that no one's experience can be fully understood by another. Instead of judging, the Taoist seeks to cultivate empathy, recognizing that everyone has their own struggles, insecurities, and desires. In the context of relationships, this means striving to understand a woman's perspective, listening to her concerns without judgment, and supporting her emotional, intellectual, and spiritual growth. By replacing judgment with empathy, men can create deeper, more meaningful connections with women, rooted in mutual respect and understanding. Social media and modern literature provide countless examples of the damaging effects of judgment in relationships. Women are often judged harshly for their choices, whether it's the decision to prioritize career over family, to remain single, or to express themselves in ways that challenge traditional gender norms. This judgment is frequently amplified in online spaces, where societal expectations and rigid standards are constantly reinforced through curated images and narratives. In contrast, there is a growing movement that advocates for the acceptance of diversity in women's experiences and choices, promoting the idea that women should not be judged for living authentically according to their own values and desires. This shift in perspective mirrors Taoist teachings, which emphasize the importance of accepting and embracing the natural flow of life without imposing rigid standards or expectations. In Taoism, there is a deep respect for the cyclical, ever-changing nature of life. Just as the seasons change and the rivers flow, people too are constantly evolving, shaped by their experiences, environments, and choices. To judge someone based on a fixed standard is to deny this inherent fluidity, to attempt to freeze them in time or limit their potential for growth. This is particularly true in relationships, where people should be allowed to grow and evolve without fear of judgment or criticism. When men judge women based on personal standards, they attempt to confine them to a narrow definition of who they are or who they should be, rather than allowing them the freedom to become who they truly are. Ultimately, Taoism teaches that judgment is a reflection of the self. When men judge women based on personal standards, they are often projecting their own insecurities, fears, or unmet expectations onto their partners. The Taoist approach encourages introspection and self-awareness, recognizing that the urge to judge others often stems from internal dissatisfaction. By addressing their own inner conflicts and insecurities, men can release the need to impose their standards on others and instead focus on fostering relationships built on mutual respect, acceptance, and understanding. In conclusion, Taoism offers valuable lessons for navigating relationships, particularly when it comes to avoiding the pitfalls of judgment. By recognizing the individuality of each person and embracing the natural flow of life, men can learn to support women without imposing rigid standards or expectations. Judgment creates division, while acceptance fosters connection and harmony. In relationships, it is essential to move beyond personal standards and embrace a more holistic understanding of each person's unique path. By practicing empathy, compassion, and non-judgment, men can create deeper, more fulfilling relationships with women, rooted in respect for their autonomy, individuality, and the natural unfolding of their lives. Part 4. Don't place unreasonable expectations on women. In the world of human relationships, one of the most pervasive issues is the placement of unreasonable expectations on others, particularly in the context of gender roles. Women, throughout history and into the present, have been subjected to a multitude of expectations, many of which are rooted in outdated social norms or ideals about what a woman should be. These expectations, often placed by men in relationships, society, or even familial structures, create an immense burden for women to fulfill roles that may not align with their authentic selves. In Taoist philosophy, such expectations are antithetical to the principles of balance, harmony, and non-force. Taoism teaches that life flows most naturally when people are allowed to exist as they are, without being pushed to conform to artificial standards. By placing unreasonable expectations on women, men disrupt the natural flow of relationships and cause unnecessary stress, resentment, and disconnection. Unreasonable expectations manifest in many forms, ranging from physical appearances to emotional availability, career paths, family roles, and even behavioral norms. In relationships, these expectations often stem from deep-rooted societal conditioning, where women are seen as nurturers, caretakers, and sources of emotional stability. This narrow definition of what a woman is supposed to be often leads men to place undue pressure on women to meet these ideals. For instance, men may expect women to maintain a certain level of attractiveness, to be constantly supportive and emotionally available, to prioritize family over career, or to adopt submissive roles within the relationship. While these expectations may vary in intensity depending on cultural context, they are pervasive and can have a damaging effect on women's well-being. In Taoism, the concept of wu-wei, non-action or effortless action, encourages individuals to allow life to unfold naturally without imposing force or expectations on others. This principle, when applied to relationships, means that men should not seek to control or dictate how women behave, look, or feel. Rather than expecting women to conform to rigid ideals, Taoism teaches that true harmony in relationships is found by accepting each person as they are, without the need for change or manipulation. Placing unreasonable expectations on women creates a dynamic in which one partner seeks to mold the other into a predefined shape, ultimately disrupting the balance of the relationship. One of the most damaging types of expectations placed on women is the expectation to meet societal beauty standards. From an early age, women are bombarded with messages about how they should look, often dictated by media, fashion industries, and even the men in their lives. This pressure to conform to an idealized version of beauty, whether it involves maintaining a certain body type, dressing in a particular way, or adhering to grooming standards, places an immense emotional and psychological burden on women. Studies have shown that unrealistic beauty standards contribute to issues such as low self-esteem, body dysmorphia, and eating disorders. When men expect women to look a certain way to validate their own sense of attraction or social standing, they are imposing an unreasonable standard that often conflicts with the woman's own sense of identity or comfort. Taoist wisdom emphasizes the idea that external appearances are transient and superficial. In the Taoist worldview, beauty is not something that can be measured by societal standards, rather, it is a reflection of a person's inner balance, peace, and alignment with nature. Instead of expecting women to meet arbitrary beauty ideals, men should embrace the Taoist understanding of beauty as something that flows from within, an expression of authenticity, health, and inner harmony. In relationships, this means appreciating women for who they truly are, rather than expecting them to conform to external ideals. When men release the expectation for women to look a certain way, they open the door for deeper connection based on mutual respect and genuine appreciation. Another common unreasonable expectation placed on women is the emotional labor often demanded of them in relationships. Emotional labor refers to the invisible work involved in managing emotions, both one's own and others. In many relationships, women are expected to be the emotional caretakers, soothing, supporting, and providing stability, regardless of their own emotional needs or states. Men may unconsciously place this expectation on women, believing that it is the woman's role to manage the emotional well-being of the relationship. This can result in women feeling drained, unappreciated, and overburdened by the constant demand to care for others' emotions while suppressing their own. In Taoism, emotional balance is key to inner harmony and peace. Each person is responsible for their own emotional state, and expecting someone else, whether male or female, to carry the emotional burden of a relationship disrupts this balance. Men who place the expectation of constant emotional labor on women fail to recognize the importance of shared responsibility in relationships. Instead of expecting women to manage their emotions, Taoism encourages individuals to cultivate their own emotional resilience and inner peace, which can then be shared in a balanced, harmonious partnership. Relationships flourish when both partners contribute to the emotional health of the relationship, without placing undue pressure on one person to carry the weight of emotional management. Career and family roles are another area where unreasonable expectations are often placed on women. Even in modern societies where gender equality is increasingly emphasized, many men still hold subconscious expectations about a woman's role within the family structure. Women are often expected to prioritize motherhood and caregiving over career ambitions, and those who choose to pursue professional goals are sometimes judged as neglecting their familial responsibilities. This expectation stems from deeply ingrained gender roles that have persisted for centuries, even as social norms evolve. Taoist philosophy rejects the rigid assignment of roles based on gender. Instead, it emphasizes individual freedom and the importance of following one's own path, or Tao. In relationships, this means that each person, whether male or female, should have the freedom to pursue their own ambitions, goals, and dreams without being constrained by societal expectations. Men who place unreasonable expectations on women to fulfill traditional family roles are not only limiting the woman's potential but also missing the opportunity to support her personal growth and development. True harmony in relationships comes from allowing each partner to pursue their own path, while offering support, encouragement, and understanding along the way. Behavioral expectations also fall into the realm of unreasonable demands placed on women. Society has long dictated how women should behave, often holding them to higher standards of politeness, passivity, or nurturing behavior. Men may unconsciously expect women to be more agreeable, to avoid confrontation, or to adopt more traditionally feminine traits such as gentleness or submission. These expectations create a dynamic in which women feel pressure to suppress their true selves in order to fit into the mold of what is considered appropriate female behavior. Taoism encourages authenticity in the expression of one's true nature, free from societal constraints. The Taoist sage lives in harmony with their inner nature, not conforming to external pressures or expectations. In relationships, this principle calls for men to let go of rigid expectations about how women should behave and instead embrace the authenticity of their partners. Women, like men, are complex individuals with their own personalities, desires, and temperaments. By releasing the expectation for women to fit into predefined behavioral roles, men can foster relationships that are based on mutual respect for each other's individuality and true nature. One of the key reasons why unreasonable expectations are so damaging in relationships is that they are often unattainable, setting women up for failure no matter how hard they try to meet them. When men expect women to simultaneously be nurturing caregivers, successful career women, emotionally available partners, and physically attractive according to societal standards, they are imposing an impossible ideal. Women cannot be everything at once, and the pressure to try often leads to feelings of inadequacy, stress, and burnout. These unattainable expectations create a dynamic where women feel they are constantly falling short, while men become frustrated or disappointed when these impossible standards are not met. Taoism teaches the importance of letting go of rigid expectations and embracing the flow of life as it is. In relationships, this means accepting each partner as they are, without trying to force them into a predefined role or mold. By releasing unreasonable expectations, men can create space for women to be their authentic selves, allowing for a deeper connection based on acceptance and mutual respect. When both partners are free to express their true selves without fear of judgment or unmet expectations, the relationship becomes a source of support, growth, and harmony. In conclusion, placing unreasonable expectations on women not only harms the individual woman but also undermines the foundation of the relationship. These expectations, whether based on societal beauty standards, emotional labor, career roles, or behavioral norms, create a dynamic where women feel pressured to conform to ideals that may not align with their true selves. Taoism offers a different approach, one that encourages acceptance, balance, and the release of rigid expectations. By allowing women the freedom to be who they are, without placing unreasonable demands on them, men can foster relationships that are harmonious, authentic, and supportive. This Taoist approach to relationships emphasizes the importance of accepting each person's unique path and finding balance through mutual respect, empathy, and understanding. Part 5. Don't underestimate women's gentleness. In Taoist philosophy, the concept of gentleness, often associated with yin energy, is central to understanding the balance between power and harmony. Gentleness, when viewed through a Taoist lens, is not a weakness but rather a profound strength that can bring about great transformation, healing, and wisdom. Throughout history and across cultures, women have often been associated with gentleness, whether in their nurturing roles as caregivers, their capacity for emotional resilience, or their ability to create peace in challenging situations. However, this gentleness is frequently underestimated, misunderstood, or even dismissed as passive or lacking in strength. In reality, women's gentleness embodies a quiet power that reflects a deep alignment with nature and an innate capacity for balance, which is often overlooked by those who equate strength with force or aggression. The Taoist principle of Wu Wei, or non-forceful action, is a reflection of this gentle power. Rather than exerting control or dominance over situations, Wu Wei teaches us to flow with the natural rhythms of life, using soft and adaptable approaches to navigate challenges. This is a principle that aligns closely with the way women, through their gentleness, often handle adversity, relationships, and the complexities of life. The strength found in gentleness lies in its ability to remain calm in the face of turmoil, to embrace patience when others seek instant gratification, and to offer compassion when faced with conflict. Taoism views this gentleness as essential to maintaining harmony, both in personal relationships and in the larger universe. Unfortunately, in many societies, gentleness is often dismissed as a lack of assertiveness or strength, especially when it comes to women. This underestimation is particularly prevalent in environments that value aggression, competition, and domination, where the softer qualities associated with femininity are seen as secondary or even as liabilities. Yet, Taoism teaches that true power does not come from force or control but from understanding, flexibility, and the ability to remain centered amidst external pressures. Women, through their gentleness, often embody this Taoist wisdom, as they navigate life with an inner strength that allows them to adapt, nurture, and create balance where it is most needed. In relationships, underestimating a woman's gentleness can lead to significant misunderstandings and missed opportunities for deeper connection. When men fail to recognize the value of gentleness, they may misinterpret it as weakness or believe that it indicates a lack of resilience. However, women's gentleness often serves as the foundation for emotional stability and strength within relationships. By offering empathy, patience, and understanding, women create an environment where emotional honesty can flourish. This gentleness allows for a deeper level of communication, where both partners feel safe to express their vulnerabilities and needs without fear of judgment or rejection. A common misconception is that gentleness is synonymous with passivity or submission. In reality, gentleness is an active choice that requires a great deal of emotional intelligence, maturity, and strength. It takes courage to choose a gentle response in situations where anger or force might seem easier or more justified. Women often demonstrate this courage in their ability to remain calm in the face of adversity, to offer support when others are struggling, and to maintain composure when emotions are running high. Taoism teaches that such restraint and inner peace are key elements of true power, and this is reflected in the way women use gentleness as a tool for maintaining harmony in their relationships and environments. One of the most powerful aspects of gentleness is its ability to disarm tension and foster healing. In times of conflict, a gentle approach can diffuse aggression, create space for dialogue, and lead to solutions that are based on mutual respect rather than domination. Women, through their nurturing instincts and emotional intelligence, often bring this gentle energy to their relationships, helping to resolve conflicts in ways that honor the needs and feelings of all parties involved. This ability to heal and restore balance is a reflection of the Taoist belief that gentleness is the most effective way to navigate the challenges of life. By flowing with the natural rhythms of relationships, rather than pushing against them with force or control, women can guide their partners toward deeper understanding and harmony. This is not to say that gentleness is the only strength women possess, but it is a particularly undervalued one. In a world that often celebrates assertiveness and aggression, the quiet power of gentleness is frequently overlooked. Yet, as Laozi wrote in the Tao Te Ching, water is soft and weak, but it overcomes the hard and strong. This metaphor illustrates the Taoist belief that gentleness, like water, has the power to erode even the most rigid and unyielding obstacles. Women, through their gentleness, demonstrate this same strength, using patience, understanding, and compassion to navigate difficulties and bring about lasting change. In many cultures, women's gentleness has historically been associated with motherhood and caregiving. While these roles are indeed reflections of the nurturing aspect of gentleness, they do not fully encompass the breadth of this quality. Women's gentleness extends far beyond the familial or domestic sphere. In professional settings, for example, women often bring a level of emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills that help to create collaborative and inclusive environments. Their ability to listen, mediate, and approach challenges with empathy often leads to more effective teamwork and problem-solving. In leadership roles, this gentle strength enables women to guide others with patience and wisdom, fostering a sense of trust and respect that is essential for long-term success. Unfortunately, the underestimation of women's gentleness can also manifest in the workplace, where qualities such as assertiveness and decisiveness are often prized above all else. Women who lead with gentleness may be perceived as lacking authority or confidence, despite the fact that their approach can be just as effective, if not more so, in achieving positive outcomes. The Taoist perspective encourages us to challenge these assumptions by recognizing that different forms of strength exist and that gentleness is a powerful force in its own right. By valuing women's gentleness in the workplace, men and women alike can create more balanced and harmonious professional environments that honor a diversity of leadership styles. Social media and modern literature offer numerous examples of how women's gentleness is often misinterpreted or underestimated. In popular culture, strong female characters are frequently depicted as tough, aggressive, or emotionally detached, qualities typically associated with masculine strength. While these representations challenge traditional gender roles, they also reinforce the notion that strength is synonymous with force or dominance. Women who exhibit gentleness, on the other hand, are often relegated to secondary roles or portrayed as lacking the strength necessary to overcome challenges. However, this narrow portrayal of strength does a disservice to the true power of gentleness, which is just as capable of achieving success, fostering resilience, and promoting growth. In recent years, there has been a growing recognition of the value of gentleness in both personal and professional contexts. Movements such as mindfulness and emotional intelligence have highlighted the importance of empathy, patience, and understanding in fostering healthy relationships and productive workplaces. These movements reflect the Taoist principles of balance and harmony, emphasizing that true strength lies in the ability to remain centered and compassionate, even in the face of adversity. Women, through their gentleness, are often natural practitioners of these principles, using their emotional intelligence to create environments where trust, respect, and collaboration can thrive. In relationships, underestimating a woman's gentleness can lead to a lack of appreciation for the emotional labor she often performs. Emotional labor refers to the invisible work involved in managing the emotional well-being of others, offering support, listening, and providing comfort during difficult times. Women are often expected to perform this labor without recognition, and their gentleness in doing so can be taken for granted. However, this emotional labor is a form of strength, requiring a great deal of emotional resilience and patience. By recognizing and valuing the gentleness with which women approach emotional labor, men can cultivate deeper connections and greater appreciation for the unseen contributions that women make to their relationships. Ultimately, Taoism teaches that gentleness is not about passivity or weakness, but about alignment with the natural flow of life. When men underestimate women's gentleness, they fail to recognize the profound strength that lies in this quality. Women's gentleness is a reflection of their ability to remain resilient, compassionate, and adaptable in the face of life's challenges. By embracing and valuing this gentleness, men can create relationships that are based on mutual respect, understanding, and harmony. Just as water flows gently yet has the power to shape mountains, so too does women's gentleness possess the quiet strength to transform relationships, heal wounds, and create lasting change. In conclusion, gentleness is a powerful and essential quality that should never be underestimated, especially in women. It represents a deep wisdom that aligns with the Taoist principles of balance, harmony, and non-force. Women's gentleness, whether expressed in personal relationships, professional environments, or through acts of caregiving and emotional labor, is a source of strength that brings about healing, connection, and growth. By recognizing and honoring this gentleness, men can learn to appreciate the full spectrum of strength and create relationships that are more balanced, fulfilling, and harmonious. Part 6. Don't abuse physical or mental power. In every society, the use and abuse of power have shaped the dynamics of human relationships. Physical and mental power, particularly in relationships between men and women, can either be a source of strength and support or a tool for control and domination. Unfortunately, History is filled with examples of how power has been misused, often to the detriment of those who are perceived as weaker or more vulnerable. In many relationships, this imbalance manifests as the abuse of physical or mental power, where one partner, typically the man, exerts control over the other, often a woman, through force, manipulation, or coercion. From the perspective of Taoist philosophy, the abuse of power is not only harmful to the individual but also disrupts the natural harmony of relationships and the balance of energies between partners. In Taoism, power is not about domination or force but about balance, harmony, and alignment with the Tao, the natural order of the universe. Power, when used correctly, should be exercised with humility, responsibility, and respect for the inherent dignity of others. The abuse of physical or mental power, on the other hand, reflects an imbalance of energies, specifically, an overemphasis on the aggressive, assertive qualities of Yang without the tempering influence of Yin. This imbalance leads to discord and suffering, both for the person wielding power and for those on the receiving end of it. Taoism teaches that true strength comes from balance, not force, and that the misuse of power only serves to create further disharmony and conflict. Physical power, often associated with masculinity and strength, is one of the most visible and direct forms of power. Men, due to their biological makeup, tend to have greater physical strength than women, and this disparity has historically been used to justify male dominance in many cultures. However, the abuse of physical power, whether through violence, intimidation, or coercion, is a profound violation of both ethical and spiritual principles. Physical abuse in relationships is not only a violation of a woman's autonomy and safety but also a distortion of what it means to be strong. In Taoism, true strength is not measured by the ability to dominate others but by the ability to maintain balance and harmony within oneself and one's relationships. The abuse of physical power often stems from a deep-seated insecurity or fear. Men who feel the need to assert physical dominance over women are often compensating for feelings of inadequacy or a lack of control in other areas of their lives. By using physical force, they attempt to reassert their authority and maintain a sense of power, but this approach is ultimately self-destructive. Violence and intimidation create a cycle of fear, resentment, and mistrust, leading to emotional and psychological damage for both parties. In Taoist philosophy, this cycle of violence is seen as a departure from the natural flow of life, where force and aggression only serve to block the path to inner peace and harmony. Mental power, though less visible than physical power, can be just as damaging when abused. The manipulation of another person's thoughts, emotions, and perceptions is a subtle but insidious form of control that often goes unnoticed until the damage is done. Mental abuse can take many forms, including gaslighting, emotional manipulation, belittling, and psychological coercion. Unlike physical abuse, which is often easy to identify, mental abuse can be much harder to recognize, both for the victim and for those around them. However, the effects of mental abuse are profound, often leading to long-term psychological trauma, low self-esteem, and a loss of personal autonomy. In relationships, the abuse of mental power often manifests as an attempt to control a woman's sense of reality. Gaslighting, for example, is a common tactic in which the abuser manipulates the victim's perception of events, making them doubt their own memory, judgment, or sanity. This form of manipulation erodes the victim's confidence and sense of self, making them increasingly dependent on the abuser for validation and support. In Taoism, this kind of mental manipulation is seen as a violation of the natural order, where each individual has the right to their own path, their own experiences, and their own truth. To manipulate another person's mind is to impose an artificial reality upon them, disrupting their ability to align with the Tao and live authentically. Mental abuse can also take the form of emotional manipulation, where one partner uses guilt, shame, or fear to control the other's behavior. This can involve making a woman feel responsible for the abuser's happiness or well-being, using emotional blackmail to force compliance, or undermining her self-worth through constant criticism and belittling. In such cases, the abuser creates an environment of emotional dependency, where the woman feels trapped in the relationship, unable to assert her own needs or desires. Taoism teaches that such dynamics are inherently unbalanced and unhealthy. A relationship should be a space of mutual respect and support, where both partners are free to express their emotions and pursue their individual paths without fear of manipulation or control. One of the fundamental principles of Taoism is the idea of Wu Wei, or effortless action. This principle teaches that true power comes from aligning with the natural flow of life, rather than trying to force outcomes or control others. In relationships, this means allowing each person the freedom to be themselves, without imposing one's will or expectations on the other. The abuse of physical or mental power, by contrast, is an attempt to forcefully shape the relationship to one's own desires, disregarding the autonomy and agency of the other person. Such an approach is not only morally wrong but also counterproductive, as it leads to resistance, resentment, and ultimately, the breakdown of the relationship. In contrast to the misuse of power, Taoism advocates for a balanced approach to relationships, where both partners contribute to a harmonious and supportive dynamic. This balance requires mutual respect, understanding, and a willingness to let go of the need for control. Men, in particular, are encouraged to cultivate the qualities of humility, compassion, and emotional intelligence, recognizing that true power lies not in dominance but in the ability to foster harmony and peace within oneself and others. By practicing Wu Wei, men can learn to approach relationships with an attitude of openness and non-attachment, allowing the natural flow of the relationship to guide them rather than trying to impose their own will. The abuse of physical or mental power in relationships also has a broader societal context. Patriarchal systems of power have long reinforced the idea that men are entitled to dominate women, both physically and mentally. These systems are built on a foundation of inequality, where men are given authority and privilege, while women are often marginalized and silenced. However, in recent decades, there has been a growing recognition of the need to dismantle these systems and create more equitable relationships between men and women. Movements such as feminism and the push for gender equality have challenged the traditional power dynamics in relationships, advocating for a more balanced and respectful approach. Social media, literature, and modern discourse have also brought attention to the pervasive nature of physical and mental abuse in relationships. The #MeToo movement, for example, has highlighted the widespread issue of sexual harassment and abuse, drawing attention to the ways in which physical power is often used to exploit and control women. Similarly, discussions around mental health and emotional abuse have shed light on the insidious nature of psychological manipulation, raising awareness about the importance of emotional safety and respect in relationships. These conversations reflect a broader cultural shift toward recognizing the value of equality and respect in human interactions, aligning with Taoist principles of balance and harmony. From a Taoist perspective, the solution to the abuse of power lies in cultivating self-awareness and inner balance. Men who abuse their physical or mental power often do so out of fear, insecurity, or a need to assert control over their environment. Taoism teaches that these impulses are signs of inner imbalance, where the individual is disconnected from their true self and from the natural flow of life. By cultivating practices such as meditation, mindfulness, and self-reflection, men can learn to reconnect with their inner sense of peace and balance, allowing them to approach relationships from a place of compassion and humility rather than fear and control. In conclusion, the abuse of physical or mental power is a profound violation of the principles of Taoism, which emphasize balance, harmony, and respect for the autonomy of others. Relationships should be spaces of mutual support and understanding, where both partners are free to express themselves and pursue their individual paths without fear of manipulation or coercion. By recognizing the destructive nature of power imbalances and striving to cultivate humility, compassion, and emotional intelligence, men can create relationships that are based on equality and respect. In doing so, they align themselves with the Tao, fostering harmony both within themselves and in their relationships with others. Part 7. Don't forget the value of understanding. In the delicate balance of human relationships, particularly between men and women, understanding plays a fundamental role in fostering harmony and mutual respect. Without understanding, even the strongest connections can falter, leading to emotional distance, misunderstandings, and ultimately, the erosion of trust. In Taoist philosophy, understanding is not merely about intellectual comprehension, but about truly seeing another person's perspective, experiencing their emotions, and recognizing the deeper truths that drive their behavior. Understanding is the bridge between individuals, and when that bridge is neglected or forgotten, relationships begin to deteriorate. In this part, we explore the importance of understanding in relationships and how its absence can lead to discord, while its presence can be transformative. Taoism emphasizes balance in all aspects of life, including relationships. In this context, balance is achieved when both partners feel heard, valued, and understood. One of the central concepts in Taoism is the principle of Yin and Yang, complementary forces that exist in harmony when they are in balance. The feminine energy, or Yin, is often associated with qualities like intuition, empathy, and emotional depth, while the masculine energy, or Yang, is linked with action, logic, and assertiveness. Both are necessary for a harmonious relationship, and understanding is the key to maintaining this balance. When a man fails to understand the emotional world of a woman or disregards her perspective, he disrupts the natural flow of yin and yang, causing imbalance. In relationships, understanding goes far beyond merely listening to what a partner says. It requires empathy, the ability to step into another person's shoes and truly grasp what they are feeling. Empathy fosters a deeper emotional connection, allowing men to recognize not just the words a woman is saying, but the emotions and experiences behind them. When a woman expresses her feelings, whether they are of joy, pain, or frustration, it is critical that her partner not only listens but also seeks to understand the root of those emotions. Too often, men may dismiss a woman's emotions as irrational or overblown because they view the situation solely from their own perspective. This lack of understanding can lead to frustration, with women feeling unheard and invalidated. The importance of emotional intelligence and understanding cannot be overstated. Emotional intelligence is the capacity to recognize, understand, and manage one's own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. In relationships, emotional intelligence allows partners to navigate the emotional complexities that arise, whether in moments of conflict, stress, or intimacy. Men who cultivate emotional intelligence are better equipped to understand their partner's emotional needs and respond in ways that foster trust and security. In contrast, when men lack emotional intelligence, they may inadvertently shut down important emotional conversations or fail to provide the emotional support their partner needs. Taoist philosophy encourages the cultivation of emotional awareness, as it is essential for maintaining balance and harmony in relationships. Understanding also involves recognizing the differences in how men and women communicate. Numerous studies have shown that men and women often approach communication in different ways, shaped by societal expectations, cultural norms, and even biological factors. Women tend to communicate more relationally, focusing on emotions, connections, and shared experiences, while men may be more solution-oriented, focusing on facts, logic, and outcomes. These differences can lead to frustration if not acknowledged and understood. For instance, a woman may express her frustrations about a difficult day, not because she is seeking a solution, but because she wants to feel heard and validated. A man, however, may respond by offering solutions, believing that this is what his partner needs. When his practical suggestions are met with frustration or disappointment, it can lead to misunderstandings and the feeling that he is not being appreciated, while the woman feels that her emotional needs are being ignored. To avoid these kinds of misunderstandings, it is important for men to develop a deeper awareness of how their partners communicate and what they truly need in moments of emotional expression. Rather than rushing to offer solutions or dismissing their partner's feelings, men should focus on active listening, paying attention to both the words and emotions being expressed. This form of listening requires patience, as it involves setting aside one's own perspective and focusing entirely on the other person. Active listening is an essential component of understanding, as it creates space for both partners to feel heard and valued. Another key aspect of understanding in relationships is the ability to recognize and respect each partner's individuality. No two people are the same, and every woman brings her own unique experiences, values, and desires into a relationship. When men try to impose their own beliefs or expectations onto their partners, they are failing to honor the individuality of the person they are with. Taoism teaches that every person is on their own path, and true understanding comes from recognizing and accepting that path, rather than trying to mold someone into a preconceived idea of who they should be. This means accepting a partner's differences, whether in terms of personality, interests, or life goals, and supporting them in their individual journey. Understanding also extends to the recognition of past experiences and how they shape present behavior. Everyone carries with them the weight of their past, whether it's childhood experiences, previous relationships, or societal pressures. For women, these experiences can often include societal expectations around gender roles, body image, and emotional expression. Men who seek to understand their partners must recognize how these past experiences influence the way women navigate their relationships and the world around them. For example, a woman who has been conditioned to prioritize others' needs over her own may struggle with assertiveness or setting boundaries. A man who understands this can offer support and encouragement, helping her to feel safe in expressing her needs and desires without fear of judgment. In today's society, where gender dynamics are constantly evolving, understanding the pressures and challenges that women face is more important than ever. Social media and modern literature have increasingly highlighted the mental and emotional toll that societal expectations place on women, from the pressure to conform to beauty standards to the expectation of balancing career, family, and personal life. Men who seek to truly understand their partners must be aware of these external pressures and how they impact women's emotional and psychological well-being. By acknowledging these challenges, men can offer empathy and support, helping to create a relationship where women feel seen, understood, and valued for who they are, rather than for how well they meet societal expectations. The absence of understanding in relationships can lead to emotional distance and resentment. When one partner feels that their needs and emotions are not being acknowledged, they may begin to withdraw, both emotionally and physically. Over time, this withdrawal can create a sense of isolation within the relationship, with both partners feeling disconnected from one another. In contrast, when understanding is present, it fosters a deep emotional intimacy that strengthens the bond between partners. Couples who practice understanding are better able to navigate challenges and conflicts because they approach these moments with empathy and compassion, rather than frustration and judgment. In Taoism, understanding is also linked to the concept of wu wei, or effortless action. This principle teaches that true harmony comes from flowing with the natural rhythm of life, rather than trying to force outcomes or impose one's will on others. In relationships, this means allowing each partner the space to be themselves, without trying to control or change them. Understanding is the key to practicing Wu Wei in relationships, as it enables partners to accept each other's differences and work together to create a harmonious balance. Rather than trying to force their partner to conform to their own expectations, men who practice Wu Wei seek to understand their partner's needs and desires, creating a relationship based on mutual respect and cooperation. In conclusion, understanding is the foundation of a healthy and harmonious relationship. It requires empathy, active listening, emotional intelligence, and a willingness to accept each partner's individuality. When men forget the value of understanding, they risk creating emotional distance and conflict in their relationships. However, when they prioritize understanding, they create a space of emotional safety and intimacy, where both partners feel valued and respected. Taoist philosophy teaches that true power and harmony in relationships come not from control or dominance, but from understanding and balance. By cultivating understanding, men can create relationships that are not only harmonious but also deeply fulfilling and transformative. Part 8. Don't see women as objects to be changed. One of the most common and harmful dynamics in relationships is the tendency to see women as objects that need to be changed, improved, or molded into someone else's ideal. This perspective reduces women to something less than human, disregarding their individuality, autonomy, and intrinsic worth. When men approach relationships with the mindset that a woman is something to be fixed or perfected, they fail to recognize the beauty of her unique nature and the depth of her personal journey. Instead of fostering growth and mutual understanding, this mindset creates a power imbalance where one person tries to impose their will on another, disrupting the natural flow of the relationship and causing emotional harm. In Taoism, the concept of Wu Wei, or non-forceful action, teaches that true harmony is achieved not through control or coercion but by allowing things to unfold naturally. When men try to change women, they are engaging in the opposite of this principle, attempting to shape someone into their own image of what a woman should be. This approach not only disrespects the woman's autonomy but also disrupts the balance of Yin and Yang, the complementary forces that exist in all relationships. Taoist philosophy encourages acceptance and alignment with the natural flow of life, which means embracing people as they are, rather than trying to force them into preconceived roles or identities. When men view women as objects to be changed, they often do so from a place of insecurity or a need for control. This mindset can manifest in various aspects of a relationship, from physical appearance and behavior to career choices and personal beliefs. For instance, a man might try to influence the way a woman dresses, speaks, or even interacts with others, believing that these changes will make her more acceptable or desirable. He may pressure her to pursue certain goals or make lifestyle changes that align with his own values, rather than supporting her in following her own path. In doing so, he reduces her to an extension of his own ego, rather than seeing her as an independent, whole person with her own desires, thoughts, and ambitions. One of the most damaging effects of seeing women as objects to be changed is the erosion of their self-worth and confidence. When a woman is constantly told, either directly or subtly, that she is not enough as she is, she may begin to internalize these messages and feel that her value is contingent upon meeting someone else's standards. Over time, this can lead to a loss of self-confidence, as she starts to question her own instincts, preferences, and decisions. This dynamic can create an unhealthy dependency, where the woman feels that she must rely on the man's approval or validation to feel good about herself. Rather than encouraging mutual growth and empowerment, this kind of relationship fosters insecurity and a lack of fulfillment. Taoism offers a different path, one that values acceptance, patience, and respect for the natural development of individuals. In relationships, this means allowing women to be who they are, without trying to mold them into a different version of themselves. It means recognizing that everyone is on their own journey, and that personal growth cannot be forced or dictated by someone else's agenda. Men who follow Taoist principles are encouraged to approach relationships with humility and openness, understanding that their role is not to change or control their partner but to support and respect her growth as an autonomous individual. This mindset shift requires men to let go of the notion that they know what is best for their partner. Instead of trying to change a woman, Taoism teaches that men should focus on understanding and appreciating her unique qualities, strengths, and challenges. Every person, including women, brings a distinct set of experiences, values, and perspectives to a relationship, and it is through embracing these differences that a deeper connection can be formed. Rather than imposing their own desires or expectations, men can create a space where their partner feels valued for who she truly is, fostering a relationship built on trust, respect, and mutual growth. The pressure to change women is often exacerbated by societal expectations and cultural narratives about gender roles. In many cultures, women are expected to conform to certain ideals of femininity, beauty, and behavior, and these expectations are frequently reinforced by media, family, and peer groups. Men, consciously or unconsciously, may adopt these societal pressures and project them onto their relationships, expecting women to fit into these predefined molds. For example, a man might pressure a woman to be more traditionally feminine, to prioritize family over career, or to behave in ways that align with conventional notions of what a good woman should be. This not only limits the woman's ability to express her true self but also perpetuates harmful stereotypes that restrict the full range of human expression. Social media, in particular, has played a significant role in shaping unrealistic expectations of women, often portraying idealized versions of femininity that are difficult, if not impossible, to attain. The constant bombardment of images and narratives about how women should look, act, and live can create pressure for both men and women to conform to these standards, leading to dissatisfaction in relationships when these ideals are not met. Men who see women through the lens of these social expectations may feel the need to change their partners to align with these ideals, not realizing that these standards are often superficial and damaging. The Taoist approach to relationships emphasizes the importance of authenticity and inner harmony. Rather than focusing on external appearances or societal expectations, Taoism encourages individuals to cultivate their inner selves and to value the true essence of a person. In relationships, this means seeing beyond superficial qualities and recognizing the deeper qualities that make a person unique. Men who adopt this perspective are less likely to try to change their partners, as they understand that true fulfillment in a relationship comes from mutual acceptance and understanding, not from trying to fit someone into a predetermined mold. It is also important to recognize that change, when it occurs in a relationship, should come from within, not from external pressure. People grow and evolve naturally over time, and this process of personal development is an essential part of life. However, when men try to force change upon women, they disrupt this natural process and create tension in the relationship. Change that is driven by external pressure is often superficial and unsustainable, as it is not rooted in the person's own desires or motivations. In contrast, when change comes from within, it is a reflection of a person's inner growth and alignment with their true self. In relationships, supporting a partner's natural evolution, rather than trying to direct it, leads to a more authentic and lasting connection. The notion of seeing women as objects to be changed also stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of equality in relationships. When men view women as projects to be improved upon or as extensions of their own identity, they are failing to recognize the equality and autonomy of their partner. True equality in a relationship means recognizing that both partners have the right to their own thoughts, desires, and decisions, and that neither partner has the authority to impose their will on the other. Taoism teaches that harmony in relationships comes from balance and mutual respect, where both partners are seen as equals, each with their own path and purpose. Furthermore, when men try to change women, they are often driven by their own insecurities or fears. They may feel threatened by a woman's independence, intelligence, or strength, and attempt to change her in ways that make them feel more comfortable or in control. This dynamic is not only unhealthy but also unsustainable, as it is rooted in fear and a lack of self-awareness. Taoism teaches that true strength comes from within, and that men must first cultivate their own inner peace and balance before they can engage in healthy, harmonious relationships. By focusing on their own personal growth and self-awareness, men can release the need to control or change their partner and instead create a relationship based on mutual growth and support. In conclusion, the tendency to see women as objects to be changed is a harmful mindset that undermines the autonomy, individuality, and worth of women in relationships. Taoist philosophy offers a different approach, one that values acceptance, respect, and alignment with the natural flow of life. Men who adopt this perspective are able to appreciate their partners for who they truly are, rather than trying to mold them into someone else's ideal. By fostering mutual respect, understanding, and support, relationships can flourish in a way that honors both partners' individuality and creates a foundation for lasting harmony and fulfillment. Part 9. Don't take away the value of personal freedom. At the heart of any healthy and balanced relationship is the respect for personal freedom. In Taoist philosophy, freedom is essential for the growth and flourishing of the individual. Taoism teaches that each person has their own path, or Tao, and that to restrict or control another person is to impede their natural course in life. The Taoist principle of Wu Wei, or non-forceful action, encourages individuals to allow life to unfold naturally, without attempting to control or dominate others. When men attempt to take away the personal freedom of women, whether through overt control or more subtle forms of restriction, they violate this principle and disrupt the natural harmony that is essential for a fulfilling relationship. Personal freedom, in its most fundamental sense, is the right to make choices about one's own life, thoughts, and actions. It encompasses everything from career and lifestyle decisions to the ability to express one's individuality and desires. In relationships, personal freedom is often compromised when one partner imposes their will or expectations on the other, limiting their ability to fully express themselves or pursue their goals. This dynamic can be especially prevalent in relationships where traditional gender roles still play a significant role, with men often assuming the dominant position and expecting women to conform to specific roles or behaviors. The erosion of personal freedom in relationships can take many forms, some of which are more obvious than others. In extreme cases, it may involve direct control, where one partner dictates the other's actions, restricts their social interactions, or makes decisions on their behalf. However, more subtle forms of control can be equally damaging. For instance, a man might discourage a woman from pursuing certain interests or career paths, subtly undermining her confidence or creating an environment where she feels obligated to prioritize his needs over her own. Over time, these restrictions can lead to a sense of entrapment, where a woman feels that her identity and autonomy are being suppressed by the expectations and demands of her partner. From a Taoist perspective, such attempts to control or restrict another person's freedom are fundamentally flawed because they go against the natural flow of life. Taoism emphasizes that each individual is unique and should be free to follow their own path. Trying to dictate another person's choices or limit their freedom is not only an act of disrespect but also a reflection of one's own insecurity or need for control. The Tao teaches that true harmony in relationships comes from allowing each partner the space to be themselves, without imposing expectations or attempting to mold them into someone they are not. Personal freedom is essential for both partners to grow individually and within the relationship. One of the reasons why personal freedom is so vital in relationships is that it allows for the growth and evolution of both individuals. In Taoism, the idea of constant change and transformation is central to understanding life. Just as rivers flow and trees grow, people, too, are constantly evolving, shaped by their experiences, desires, and inner journeys. To restrict a person's freedom is to deny them the opportunity to grow and develop as they are meant to. This stifling of growth can lead to resentment, frustration, and ultimately, the breakdown of the relationship. A healthy relationship, in contrast, is one where both partners encourage each other's growth, recognizing that personal freedom is essential for maintaining balance and harmony. Another important aspect of personal freedom is the freedom to express one's thoughts, emotions, and desires without fear of judgment or rejection. In many relationships, women may feel pressured to conform to certain expectations or to suppress parts of themselves in order to maintain harmony or avoid conflict. This can lead to a situation where a woman feels that she must hide her true self, sacrificing her personal freedom for the sake of the relationship. Over time, this suppression can erode the foundation of the relationship, as the woman may begin to feel disconnected from her partner and from herself. In relationships where personal freedom is respected, both partners are able to express themselves openly and authentically. This creates an environment of trust and mutual respect, where both individuals feel valued for who they are, rather than for how well they conform to their partner's expectations. The ability to express one's true self is crucial for emotional intimacy, as it allows both partners to connect on a deeper level and to build a relationship that is based on genuine understanding and acceptance. Social media and modern literature offer countless examples of how the erosion of personal freedom can lead to dissatisfaction and disconnection in relationships. In a world where traditional gender roles are being challenged and redefined, many women are seeking greater autonomy and freedom in their relationships, yet they often face resistance from partners who are uncomfortable with these changes. Whether it's the pressure to prioritize family over career, the expectation to fulfill certain domestic roles, or the subtle discouragement of personal ambitions, many women find themselves struggling to maintain their personal freedom in relationships that seek to confine them to outdated expectations. The rise of feminist movements and discussions around gender equality have brought attention to the importance of personal freedom in relationships, particularly for women who have historically been denied the same level of autonomy as men. These conversations reflect a broader cultural shift toward recognizing that personal freedom is not only a fundamental right but also a key component of a healthy, balanced relationship. Men who seek to build strong, fulfilling relationships with women must learn to let go of the need to control or restrict their partner's freedom and instead embrace a more equal, supportive dynamic where both individuals are free to pursue their own paths. Personal freedom is also deeply connected to the concept of self-actualization, the process of realizing one's full potential. In relationships, both partners should have the freedom to explore their interests, pursue their passions, and grow as individuals. When one partner attempts to restrict the other's freedom, they are not only stifling their partner's potential but also limiting the potential of the relationship itself. A relationship that allows for personal freedom is one that encourages both partners to become the best versions of themselves, ultimately leading to a stronger, more fulfilling connection. It is also important to recognize that personal freedom does not mean complete independence or isolation. In a healthy relationship, personal freedom exists alongside mutual support, collaboration, and compromise. Both partners should feel free to pursue their individual goals and desires, while also working together to build a shared life. This balance between personal freedom and partnership is essential for maintaining a relationship that is both dynamic and stable. Taoism teaches that harmony comes from the balance of opposites, and this principle applies to relationships as well. Personal freedom and partnership are not mutually exclusive, rather, they complement each other, creating a relationship that is both supportive and liberating. When men fail to respect women's personal freedom, they often do so out of a desire for control or a fear of losing their partner. This fear can manifest in behaviors such as jealousy, possessiveness, or the need to dictate their partner's choices. However, these behaviors are ultimately counterproductive, as they create an environment of tension and mistrust. Taoism teaches that true strength comes from letting go of the need to control and instead trusting in the natural flow of life. In relationships, this means trusting that both partners will make choices that are aligned with their own path and that mutual respect and understanding will guide the relationship forward. In conclusion, personal freedom is an essential component of any healthy and balanced relationship. When men attempt to take away women's personal freedom, whether through overt control or more subtle forms of restriction, they disrupt the natural harmony that is necessary for both partners to thrive. Taoist philosophy offers valuable insights into the importance of respecting personal freedom, emphasizing the need for balance, non-force, and acceptance of each individual's unique path. By embracing personal freedom, men can create relationships that are built on trust, mutual respect, and the recognition that true love is not about control or domination, but about supporting each other's growth and allowing both partners to fully express their true selves. In doing so, they align themselves with the Tao, fostering a relationship that is not only harmonious but also deeply fulfilling and transformative. Conclusion. In Taoism, harmony is the cornerstone of all relationships, achieved through balance, respect, and acceptance. Men who strive to cultivate understanding, respect personal freedom, and refrain from imposing control or expectations on women create relationships rooted in equality, mutual growth, and trust. By letting go of the need to change or control, and instead embracing each partner's unique path, men can foster deeper, more meaningful connections. True strength lies in supporting one another's autonomy, allowing love and respect to flow naturally, just as the Tao itself flows effortlessly through life.